Liverpool 2, Porto 0, two separate standout strikes. See the Reds make it 5 from 5 in the Champions League as Liverpool put on a second half show at Anfield. Joining myself, Clarke, here on the Debrief, live on the Blood Red channel, we have our senior Liverpool writer, Theo Squires. And for a game that didn't mean much, Theo, sum that one up.
It was a strange one, really. Like in the first half, it felt like a game where Liverpool already through to the knockout stages, because indeed it was, and fans weren't really up for it. But it's still a big game for Porto. Like Group B, it might be over in terms of Liverpool, but all three of the other sides could still progress, and I think it's even tighter now after AC Milan's win tonight, meaning there's going to be even more to play for them in the final game week. And it was one where Porto caused Liverpool a few problems in the first half. They were getting in behind the defence a lot. Liverpool weren't at their best in terms of bringing the football forward, passing it around. There were a few exceptions like Thiago, but you could tell it was a changed defence. You could tell it was a changed attack. They just weren't clicking somewhat. But then the disallowed goal happens, and I've seen the replay, and it's incredibly harsh. I know it's his shoulder, I think, for Sadio Mane, and he does look like he's in front. But he's not really leaning, and I miss the days of benefit of the doubt. I'm sure we all say this whenever we have a moan about the AR on the podcast. We miss benefit of the doubt. It was a brilliant pass from Thiago to play it in. But then that sort of woke Liverpool up a little bit. They got through to half-time, all things level, and then it was cruise control for the second half. Stunning goal from Thiago Alcantara. Pretty much Gerrard against Olympiacos. All of the quality, none of the importance. But what a way to get, I think, your first goal in front of a full Anfield crowd. And then Mohamed Salah just does what Mohamed Salah does, puts defenders on their backside, finds the bottom corner. He'd been threatening that a few times. It seems to be this new trick he's got in his collection at the moment. He just likes standing on the ball and seeing defenders fall over. He tries it every week at the moment. 9 times out of 10, he's pulling it off. And half the time, he's getting goals from it. So fair play to him. And then Liverpool could just make the substitutions, welcome players back from injury, have a look at Minamino, Origi, Oxlade-Chamberlain in this front three. It was job done for them. Porto didn't really threaten too much coming back into it once they got the goals, and Liverpool unfortunate not to have more with a couple more disallowed. Though this time, no, I don't think you can have any complaints about them, like Minamino's miles offside and all of this. It looked a bit tight for penalty just outside, even though Origi went for it with his best efforts to get into the box. I'm sure he'd have fancied taking that one himself and getting a goal to his name. But yeah, 5 from 5. Liverpool just making the Champions League look easy at the moment.
Yeah, they definitely are. And I mean, Thiago Alcantara was on press duty ahead of the game, and he kind of alluded to the reason he joined Liverpool in that press conference, said, "I'm here to win." And tonight, I suppose it was one of those performances, and we were kind of saying it after the Arsenal result of the weekend, of how beginning to really see the best of him now in a Liverpool shirt. And I suppose in the Champions League, on the biggest stage of all, he joined Liverpool off the back of winning the Champions League. And in that press conference, alluded to the fact that actually in his career, he would have wanted to win the tournament even more. And tonight stood up when I suppose he didn't need to be counted, but it was at a stage where Porto, they'd had a decent first half. They'd started lively in the second half. He scored that goal, and it completely took any sting that they had in them out of them.
Yeah, he's just an experienced player who's been there, seen it all, done it all, won it all, and that's why it was a case for him tonight. He was a class above everyone else on the pitch. Like, so many good passes, diagonals, or whatever. It just makes it look so easy. I think Porto played it into his hands a little bit because they weren't particularly pressing him. They were giving him that time and space on the ball. But Thiago's been in this game long enough. You don't give him time and space on the ball if you want to stop him. If you're going to let him play, he's going to cause damage. He's going to do these things to you, and that's what he's done. He's unfortunate not to get an assist. He's gotten a wonderful goal, and you could see as it bounced up, he's going to hit this first time. He's going to try and find the corner, and it was such a good technique. Like the way he's watched it and hit it perfect way to find that bottom corner. It's not even as though he's had to properly put his foot through it, because I'm sure he could have hit it much harder if he wanted. It was such a great finish. But then this one where he's a quality player. He's shown it in glimpses at Liverpool, same as Naby Keita to an extent, but he's always had the odd knock here and there. He's had a couple of injuries that have held him back. Not as many as Keita, by all means, but Liverpool got a lot of midfielders like this. You get them a run of games, and they show what they're about. They show their quality. They show what they can do. They silence any of the doubts, and then they'll get an injury. And then you're thinking, those complaints are coming up again. It's like, we can't rely on these players. But when they've got these midfielders fit, they've got the options and they have got the quality. And when you look at the bench today compared to the weekend, Liverpool welcoming players back from injury. The squad looks now in a good condition, as much as it's been pretty much since Harvey Elliott got sidelined back in September. And that's especially what they need heading into this festive period. And there's so many positives you can take out of tonight. Now they go to the San Siro with nothing in it for them. See if there's a few more kids involved, or if it's going to be the same. Like, we know the San Siro is going to get knocked down, isn't it, in a few years? They're building a new stadium. I'm sure that's one where a few of these players would love to play at one of these great European grounds for potentially a last time against a historic team. But Liverpool don't need to have too many big concerns. It's a stage fitting for a Thiago Alcantara, but when he plays like this, you won't want to be playing him at the San Siro. You want to be saving him for more important games to come.
Equally, you want him getting up to full speed, don't you? And actually enjoying him for the time that he is fit, because even prior to him coming to Liverpool, he did have these stages of breaking down, and it is a case of enjoying him for when he is fit. And he certainly, I suppose, put on a show for the Anfield crowd tonight, as you say, getting his first goal in front of a full Anfield. He did score against Southampton last season, but that, of course, behind closed doors. But talking of that midfield then, and saw obviously Oxlade-Chamberlain and Thiago in that midfield together against Arsenal. They performed well in that, and it seems to really suit the two of them, especially this season, in how it's that right-hand sided of the central midfield three who seems to be the more attacking and more advanced. We saw that with Harvey Elliott, obviously, before he get injured, and really seems to suit Oxlade-Chamberlain as well. And Tyler Morton behind them, have to mention him. He seems to just grow in confidence every time he and Thiago are popping the ball to one another. It just seems to see him grow in stature.
Living the dream, isn't he, Tyler Morton? Yeah. If you said to any young midfielder, come and play at Anfield on a European night alongside Thiago Alcantara, that is the dream, isn't it, for anyone coming through the academy? And you can't say he doesn't deserve it. Like, we saw a number of kids on the bench at the weekend. Morton came off the bench and made his Premier League debut. And then today in the Youth League, Bradley's back with the under-19s, Beck's back with the under-19s, Gordon as well, but obviously he couldn't play tonight anyway. But Morton kept him with the first team, and he deserved it. And he was great tonight. One moment stood out for me was when Porto got him behind the defence, I think, in the first half. They're playing this low cross that they're trying to take Alisson out the game completely, and there he just pops up to hammer it clear. And he just always seems to be popping up in the right moments, getting his tackles in, not doing anything too controversial, too silly, too complicated, just playing his game, doing what he's good at. And it's an intimidating prospect. Like, you think Liverpool normally have Fabinho as the number 6 or Jordan Henderson as the number 6. To turn to a kid in that circumstances, granted, there's nothing riding on this game for Liverpool apart from a couple of million win bonus, but he can hold his head up high. He's done a good job tonight. And it's one where when Liverpool have got injury doubts in midfield, whilst they might be welcoming players back, we know they're going to lose Keita to the Cup of Nations in January. We know there's these injury records against most of the midfield, and they could break down again. You wouldn't have any problems with playing Tyler Morton when he's playing like this at the moment. He's showing this talent. He's showing these glimpses. And you're thinking, well, next month, they've got a trip to San Siro. He should start that if he's fit. What an occasion that will be for him and his family. They've got a League Cup quarter-final against Leicester City, and they've got FA Cup games. He's going to potentially get a few more Premier League minutes as well. It's great for him, and it's what you want to see. You want to see these players coming through the academy and staking a claim. I don't think any of us would have predicted when he made his debut against Norwich City in the League Cup that he would have been playing against an AC Milan or Porto in the Champions League, or that he'd have been required to make a Premier League debut against Arsenal, because you'd have liked to have thinking that Harvey Elliott stays fit, Jordan Henderson stays fit. I could go through every single one of these midfielders and make that case now. But when he's turned to, he's done what you need him to do. So fair play to him. With Oxlade-Chamberlain, it's another example of when he plays, when he finds his rhythm, you start to see that player in there again. It wasn't a perfect night for him. I think he was trying a little bit too hard at times, trying to do it all by himself. There was one moment where he's gone past 2 or 3 players and he should have passed to a Salah or a Mane, and he's tried to go for goal and he's just run into a sea of bodies. But he does what he does well. He presses defences so well. He gets forward down that right-hand side, and his experience as a winger early in his career suits him in that right-hand-sided role. I know I've said earlier in podcasts he didn't look quite as comfortable out there on the right. I think the Brighton game comes to mind when he came on for Naby Keita, but this was a player who hadn't been starting games before that. It's just that this is a perfect example. If you have players playing games consistently, getting starts, finding their rhythm, being able to show what they can do, they can deliver. And Liverpool got a lot of players in this squad who maybe haven't been given those opportunities in the past. Minamino's an example, Divock Origi's example, and you get the doubts against them. But when they do get opportunities, they deliver. And when you know you've got a Salah departing in January, Mane, Keita, maybe it's not as bad as you think if these are the players they can turn to, because if they can find this rhythm and they can get a run of games, they can do it for Liverpool Football Club.
Yeah, 1 point to make on Tyler Morton being that really for him. He's even playing out of position in that number 6 role. So often played as a number 8 in the Liverpool youth ranks coming through. And as you say, that defensive instinct when the striker was through 1-on-1, looked to cut it back. Who was there? Tyler Morton thought he was absolutely tremendous for the Reds tonight. Before we go, final 2 players I want to ask you about, Theo. First of all, Mohamed Salah, of course, got the second goal, and I think it's 17 in 17 now in Europe for the Egyptian king. And on the other side, Ibrahima Konate, who perhaps didn't have his best game coming back into the side tonight.
No, Salah does what Salah does. He puts defenders on the backsides. He makes them look silly. He scores goals, and he's just still enjoying his football. He might not be scoring hat tricks every week, but he's always a threat. He doesn't need to be as involved. He will still score goals. He will still set up goals. He is just a man in confidence, and you can put 2 players on him, 3 players on him, and he will still find a way to get past them and find the bottom corner. That's why we're saying he's the best player in the world at the moment. And we were no surprise to see him want to start this one tonight. And the team was stronger than we expected. But even if it had been a bit more rotated, you'd still have been surprised to see him drop out, because he wants to play every game, doesn't he? And you reckon he'll be the same at the San Siro. He'll want to play against AC Milan. And when the Cup of Nations coming, I think Liverpool should milk him for all he's worth. Like, they don't need to worry about him getting a knock or an injury ahead of January. Just play him, let him knock out Leicester City in the League Cup and all of this. Get as much as you can from him. And then if he's tired for Egypt, oh well. Sorry, Egyptian fans watching, but he's got to be Liverpool's priority. At the other end of the pitch, yeah, it was difficult for Konate. He made a few mistakes. I think part of the reason why Porto were getting in so often behind the Liverpool defence is because they were getting him behind him down the right-hand side. He was trying to be a bit too clever on the ball. He was trying to run with it. He was trying to pick his passes and just made it all a little bit complicated. He was running into bodies and losing it. When he calmed down, he was a lot better. He was more composed in the second half. Sting had been taken out of a bit, so Porto weren't as threatening. It wasn't as much of a threat for him. But he did look nervy in that first half, like booting it anywhere. Very rash. But then at the same time, he should have scored. Like, there was a chance from a corner where he's headed it straight at the keeper, and he's got good power on that header as well. If it's slightly one way or the other towards the corner, he scores his first Liverpool goal.
Foul was given against him, though, wasn't it?
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Joys of you having the TV cameras and not me, guy. He wouldn't have scored his first Liverpool goal. But it was a mixed night for him at best, shall we say. But I can just say the argument here is he's not had a run of games, whereas the other players who have had doubts about, who haven't had their best moments in games and then get the run of games, start to deliver. We know there's a player in Ibrahima Konate. He's shown it before. He's shown these glimpses. And it's important to remember he's not alongside Van Dijk tonight. And it might be the first time, maybe the second time he's played alongside Joel Matip. It takes time to get used to playing alongside new centre-back partners. And it's not always going to be as easy as playing alongside Virgil van Dijk, talking you through games. He's still a young centre-back as well. He might have a plenty of Champions League experience, but he was never signed to be this elite defender for Liverpool this season. He's been signed for the next 5 seasons. So let him get his mistakes out the way now in games that don't matter, where they can still walk away with clean sheets. He should, if he lives up to his potential, be a big player for Liverpool for years to come.
Yeah, certainly hope that is the case. And hey, the record books show that it's a clean sheet for Liverpool. 5 wins from 5 then in the Champions League. A trip to the San Siro to round it off, as Liverpool will look to hopefully continue their 100% record in the Champions League group stage. With plenty of reaction to come here on the Blood Red channel. Thiago Alcantara speaking, as well as Jurgen Klopp. Stay with us here on Blood Red for both of those. But from myself, Clarke, and Theo Squires, thanks for your time and your company. Bye for now.